I'm coming! Here I come!
Let's jump over into a personal favorite segment, Wes, Studs and Duds.
Yeah? Cool.
And we're back with an extended Studs and Duds this season for you guys. Like I said, we're giving you a stud and a dud from each position skill group in your fantasy football lineup. We're giving you a stud and dud for quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. I'm going to take the quarterbacks. Wes is going to take the running backs. Come back to me with the wide receivers. Dish it out to him to close out with the tight ends. It's going to be a blast. And my quarterback stud for week 1. Get this guy in your lineup if you can, and he's on most waiver wires. It's Jared Goff going up against the LA Rams. Listen, there's a few things. There's few things that are certain in fantasy football. A lot of uncertainty. But one thing that is certain is Jared Goff playing at home. My goodness, he's been averaging 21 fantasy points a game in games at Ford Field in Detroit over the last 2 seasons. And he gets to have his home opener in week 1 in a revenge game against the LA Rams. And if there's one thing that is also certain about fantasy football, is that Dan Campbell loves himself a revenge game. See week 4 David Montgomery last year against his old rivals, the Green Bay Packers, scoring 3 rushing touchdowns and just getting 30-something carries, toting the rock. That's Jared Goff, I believe, is gonna outperform his projection pretty easily this week. I don't know how many of you are in positions to be able to start him, but if you maybe drafted Jaden Daniels and you're a little worried about the rookie in week 1, Goff is a very safe play, and I'll go out on a limb and say that Goff he needs to be rostered. Even if you got a surefire guy, you should roster Jared Goff. He's got a great schedule this season for fantasy. A lot of games inside in domes as well, so it'll be fun. Any comments, concerns, questions?
No, I'm in agreement. I think both, actually him and Stafford are both going to be great this week.
I agree. Let's jump to my dud, because the quarterback dud this week, and this is a guy that was drafted by a handful of people, and I don't think he should be in your lineups. It's Brock Purdy. He's going up against the second best pass defense in 2023, and they allowed just 12.1 points per game to quarterbacks last season. The New York Jets did, who he's playing on Monday night. And I'm not like super worried about the long-term effectiveness of this offense, but there were like some key players out this whole offseason. If you missed that, if you weren't paying attention, the starting running back didn't participate in the preseason. The arguably the top wide receiver for the team now, if you want to consider him the top wide receiver, Aiyuk over Debo, was holding out for a contract, so he wasn't really involved. And the potentially most important player in the entire offense, Trent Williams, has not been practicing. He was holding out for more money as well. I am not confident in Brock Purdy in week 1 against the New York Jets. I think this offense is going to take a little time to gel, to get him back up to speed. Everything's going to be fine later on. But I think if you've got Brock Purdy and you drafted him, go check if Jared Goff's on your wire. And I think those are going to be quarterback stud, Jared Goff, and a quarterback dud, Brock Purdy, for week 1.
Good points. Good points all around. I'm excited for that Monday night game. All right, I'm going to transition to the running backs here, studs and duds. Some people need to know, should I start this guy? You should start Bijan Robinson, but I'm going to give you someone else that you can also start some flex options as well. I'm not going to say slot them into your running back position, but let me start here. My stud, I'm going to roll out Zamir White. He is the starting running back for certain. Alexander Mattison is the backup. I don't see a lot of stolen carries from Mattison, especially when once Zamir White was the starter for the Raiders, the fewest carries he had was 17. That's a cowbell if I've ever heard one moo. That dude is going to go like crazy, especially against the Chargers, which they destroyed on that Thursday night game, 63 to like -5. I think it's going to be great for Zamir White. If you want to roll someone out, it's going to get double digits. He had double digits every week, every single week once he took over the starting role after Josh Jacobs got hurt. Double digits. I like him. I think he's a safe option. Now, my dud is also technically a starting running back, but it's been a little confusing up until now. I'm going to say wait and don't start Rico Dowdle. A lot of hype, a lot of exciting things for him this week or this season. He could be the main guy, could be featured, but he's going against the Cleveland Browns. And I really also feel that this is going to be the CeeDee Lamb show. They've been waiting all offseason for him to arrive. And Aiyuk and Jamar Chase, crazy situations, drama, and actually some concern of whether or not things were going to work out. But CeeDee Lamb, it was always going to work out. Jerry Jones was going to fold like an outdoor table and give CeeDee Lamb the bag, and he has. I think Rico Dowdle is not a strong play this week, so start Zamir White instead in your flex option.
Yeah, I'm excited about Dowdle for the season long term, but again, it's another scenario where we need to see how things play out in week one. Definitely, if he's on your waiver wire right now, go grab him. Like he's definitely worth rostering.
Oh, 100%.
I think he's rostered most everywhere. But I mean, Wes, in our league that we're in with my uncle, who I don't know if you know him.
I think so.
Dowdle was like on the waiver wire. Dowdle was like, I wouldn't grab him. I was like,
gosh.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely go ahead and take you. Sorry, Darnell Mooney, I love you, but I also have Rashi Rice.
I feel foolish
on this team.
I didn't draft him.
I know. I didn't even know what was going on. So
how?
Yeah, but give a little time for that to shake out. And Zamir White should have that spot locked up. So I like it. Wide receivers. Happy to talk about this guy who we're both very high on, Wes. My wide receiver stud is also in the same game as my quarterback stud, but just on the opposite team. It's Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is my stud for week one. I just want to instill some absolute confidence. Listen, I know you guys are going to have him in your lineup if you drafted him. He's going to be there, obviously. It's not like a guy you're considering, you're debating on. He should be in one of your top 2 wide receiver slots. He's in my top wide receiver slot in some of my leagues. No doubt about it. He's going to be an absolute guy for this team because him and Stafford are hanging out again, dude. He's healthy. Mm-hmm. He's good to go. He had a 27% target share last year when he was healthy. And listen, Detroit allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to the wide receiver position last year, the 5th most yards per reception to slot wide receivers, which, let me check my notes, Cooper Kupp operates out of that slot. So there you go. It's going to be a fun time. Cooper Kupp is definitely, listen, this isn't a dig on Puka. I love Puka. I think Puka's still a top 15 wide receiver this year. Cooper Kupp's definitely going to take over that wide receiver room again, take back what is rightfully his. He's that dude for this week. So he's my I'm just instilling confidence. Week one stud at wide receiver is Cooper Kupp. Good. I didn't mean to go on like a theme here, but I've got a wide receiver dud who's also in the same game as my quarterback dud.
Oh my gosh.
And it's because they're on the same team. Brandon Aiyuk is my week one dud. Listen, I know it sounds crazy. And then you think about these guys that hold out. Well, he didn't have time with the team. Look what happened to Josh Jacobs last year. He held out, and then he wasn't efficient. He wasn't good. That won't happen with wide receivers. They're, and I get it. Wide receivers are kind of beasts of their own. They kind of, listen, I don't know how much time they need to condition with the team to be able to go out and shake some dude's ankles and get open for a touchdown. I get it. But the lack of offseason concerns me as far as just the gelling with the team. Jets allowed the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers last year. In fact, they only 5 wide receivers had receiving touchdowns against the Jets. Jalen Waddle, by the way, on a deep touchdown, by the way, without Tyreek Hill in the game, by the way. Anyway, just to get that one out of there. So I just have some concern here in week one. Again, two great defenses going out with each other, and I think the running back's going to be heavily involved in these games. And so I'm not super confident. So Brandon Aiyuk is, as wild as it sounds, a dud. I just think you need to temper our expectations. And if you have an option that you can slot in over him, maybe consider it. But Cooper Kupp, no doubt about it, keep him in that lineup. He's a week one stud.
It's going to be tough because I think people are going to start Aiyuk either way. But if he is a dud, they're going to come back and say, oh, what was that guy that said don't start Aiyuk? The 4th and troll.
Was that dude who worked for the Coca-Cola store?
Yeah.
Oh.
Is he the guy who said Xavier Worthy shouldn't be started? You know what? He may actually be right about a few things.
Throws the hat.
Just
get rid of it.
No, a mustache. Anyway, good points. Yeah. I'm very interested to see how the 49ers do. I think Debo's going to be great, though. I think Debo's going to be awesome. So tight ends.
Especially with Aiyuk back.
Yes.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Tight ends. Most of you who are trying to figure out what to do after Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce. Maybe my stud is a waiver wire ad for you if you're really concerned. Don't be concerned about either of them. But point is, some of you waited on tight end. Some of you weren't wanting to spend the capital on a premier tight end, and you thought, I'll just, Noah's got Jake Ferguson really high. Maybe I'll get Ferguson. Oh, someone took him. Okay, I guess I got Dalton Schultz or Cole Kmet. Who should I start? Well, this week, I think you can probably roll out Hunter Henry. He is my stud for the tight end position because take a look at that Patriots offense. Exactly. They don't exist. It's just Hunter Henry and maybe sometimes Ramondre Stevenson. Now, as much as we love Demario Douglas in the fantasy football community, I like him. I've drafted him in a lot of leagues. I do think he will have some good games. But for the tight end position, we can count on Hunter Henry. Because if Demario Douglas is their best wide receiver, no disrespect. Again, I have him in a lot of leagues. It's not a good thing. That's not a good thing.
No.
If he's their best wide receiver, I think Hunter Henry is going to do pretty well. He had 5 games last season as a top 10 tight end, so the potential is there. Roll him out if you really have someone that you ended up that was pretty rough and you don't like the matchups. Now, here's who I think you should not start. Kind of the reason I was worried about Isaiah Likely, I wasn't sure how his role was going to be. Likely did well. Did you hear? So here's my dud for the week. Kylen Granson, Colts tight end. This guy may be the starter, and that's kind of the key for me. He may be the starter. Maybe Mo Alley Cox has like this great resurgence and is healthy, and he's been known to have 2 catches for 2 touchdowns as well. So Mo Alley Cox can actually kind of spoil the red zone opportunities for the Colts. But let's just wait and see. Okay, he's not been the guy. We were wondering if Jelani Woods would be a top 10 tight end. I thought, he could even be top 7, and then he hurt his toe, and he's out for until December. So maybe a Colts tight end ends up being really great, but let's not put our money on a Colts tight end just yet. Let's see who Richardson likes. Let's see what Richardson's offense looks like with Jonathan Taylor, because that's new together. So there's my dud, and I think instead you should start Hunter Henry if you didn't spend the money on a great tight end.
Dude, I don't know if you saw it when it happened, but a few weeks ago, after the Jelani Woods news came out that he was going to be out, I went on a spree.
I did notice.
Of picking up Kylen Granson and a bunch of dynasty leagues.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it is. I was just Richardson loves the tight end position, bro. It's these rushing quarterbacks.
He will.
I love it.
Granson
Lamar Jackson
will.
and Isaiah Likely. There you go.
The classic duo.
I think Granson's gonna be relevant at the tight end position. I think there's a chance, and it's not probably saying much because of the tight end position itself, but Kylen Granson could be a top 15 tight end.
I agree.
Sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just don't know if week 1
I think
where you test it.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
if it works,
you definitely don't
then you have him. It's kind of like I said about Isaiah Likely.
There you go.
If it works, great.
Yeah.
And he's on your bench and you can keep him, sell him, whatever it is. But there's your studs and duds for week 1.